Hi, welcome back to my YouTube channel. And before you continue watching this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel because YouTube is informing me that almost 75% of my viewers are not subscribers to this platform. And this is the platform where you will be able to pass your BDA in your first attempt. So without much ado, let me go to the question. So today I'll do a block revision for April 2024 sitting. So there's a sample question. There are 4, but I'll start with question 21. And this question 21 is a question on valuation of firms, where we are going to look at the discounted cash flows. So I'll read the question. You are a financial analyst at Beta Limited, a company that is considering acquiring Alpha Limited. You have been tasked to perform a discounted cash flow valuation analysis in Excel to determine the value of the target company and advise on whether the acquisition will be financially beneficial. The following information is provided. 1. Alpha Limited revenues were shillings 12.5 million. This revenue is expected to grow at a constant annual growth rate of 7.5% over the next 5 years. So let me just put the 7.5%, the growth rate. Then the additional information number 2 is that Alpha's Limited gross profit margin is 75%. Yeah, so the margin is 75%. The target company currently has shillings 8 million in debt and shillings 3 million in equity. Yeah, so this is the proportion of debt and equity. Yeah, so I'll just do 8 because I'll use the values in thousands. So I just pick 8,000, just say equals to 8,000 plus the 3,000 and enter. Yeah, so that's the total. That's the worth of the company, which is 11 million. Number 4, selling, general, administration, and other expenses is expected to be 45% of sales. So let me just indicate here that we have 45%. Yeah, then depreciation is expected to be 2.5% of sales. So 2.5%, that's depreciation. Number 6, net capital expenditures are expected to be 2.5% of net revenue annually. So the net capital expenditure will be 2.5% of revenue. Yeah, so changes in net working capital are expected to amount to shillings 500,000, shillings 600,000, shillings 700,000, shillings 800,000, and shillings 900,000 in the next 5 years respectively. The number 8, the cost of debt is 12.5%. So I just note that 5%. The number 9, after the 6th year, free cash flows are expected to grow at the rate of 3% indefinitely. Yeah. So there will be a constant growth of 3% at the end of the 6th year. Yeah. So the risk-free rate is 7.5%. So I just note that also, 7.5%. Then the expected market rate of return is 13.75. So I'll also include that. Then the industry beta is 1.85. Yeah, so that's the industry beta. No, it's 1.85. There's no percentage. So let me remove that. It's not in percentage. I change it to general. Yeah, so that's the beta. Then the corporate tax rate is 25%. Just say 25%. Then the number of outstanding shares, ordinary shares, was 500,000. Very well. So required using the DCF valuation method, which is the discounted cash flow valuation method. A, calculate the present value of the target company's free cash flows, terminal value, and the total enterprise value. Part B, determine the value of the equity and the price per share of the target company. Yeah, so this is what we call valuation of firms. So this is how you are supposed to tackle such a question. Huh? So what we are going to do first, because for us to do discounting, we must have what we call the weighted average cost of capital. And when you look at this question, there's no weighted average cost of capital, but we have been given information here which will help us to calculate the WACC. So this I'll have to take you back to your financial management classes. So this is what I'll do. So I'll start by calculating the WACC. Yeah, because it is missing. Yeah, the WACC is the weighted average cost of capital. So the weighted average cost of capital, the formula is always equals to the cost of equity, which is always denoted by KE. Then you multiply by the proportion of equity. So yeah, so I'll say in this case, I just say you multiply by equity over debt, in this case, plus equity. Yeah, that's the proportion, debt plus equity. Then let me just put a bracket. Yeah, so you'll have a bracket there. Yeah, this is the formula. Then you will add this to bracket. Yeah, we'll have now the cost of debt, which is denoted as KD. But this have to be after tax. So you'll take 1 minus the tax rate. Just say tax. Then you multiply this by the proportion of debt. Yeah, so I just say debt. You divide by debt plus equity. Debt plus equity. So I'll close the bracket. Yeah, so that's how you calculate the WACC. Sorry. Don't know why the formula is disappearing. But let me repeat it again. So the formula is always equals to KE, which is the cost of debt, times the proportion of equity. You divide by equity plus debt. Then let me just put the bracket. With the bracket. So this will be all this will be under one bracket. So if I say equals and I move, that's why the formula disappears. So, and we'll add this to KD, which is the cost of debt, but it has to be minus the tax rate. So you say 1 minus tax. Then you multiply this by debt, divide by equity. Equity plus debt. Yeah. So that's the formula for that's the formula. So I hope you have grabbed it, because it's not when I try to, it's not being captured in Excel. So because we now have the formula, but now we have information which you have been given. As you can see here, we have the cost of, there's the cost of debt we have been given here. Then we have the risk-free rate. So first thing, we'll calculate the cost of equity. So the cost of equity is what is denoted by KE. So the cost of equity will be equals to the risk-free rate. So let me just write the formula, risk-free rate plus the bracket. Then we have the beta times the expected market rate of return, times the expected market rate of return. Yeah, the expected market rate of return. So even this, then you close the bracket. You will be able to get the cost of equity. Then the next thing is the cost of debt. Yeah, the cost of debt. So the cost of debt is also KD. Yeah, so it's it's KD, but after tax. So I'll say KDAT. Then the formula is always, yeah, the formula is just KDAT. So it will be KD, which is the cost of debt. Then you subtract 1 minus T, which is the T, here is the tax rate. There are another adjustment. Yeah, I think those are the only things we have to calculate. So I'll start with the KE. So I'll go to KE. So the KE is the cost of equity. So I'll start with the risk-free rate. So the risk-free rate here, we are told under additional information number 10, that the risk-free rate is 7.5%. So I'll start with that. So I'll say equals to 7.5%. Then I'll add to the beta. Beta, we are told the industry beta is 1.85. So I'll take the 1.85. Then I multiply by the expected market rate of return, which is 13.75. 13.75%. Then I close the bracket. Then I just say enter. So when I enter, my KE will be 0.3293. So I'll go to KD, which is the cost of debt. And this we are given the cost of debt to be 12.5%. But I say that we calculate the KDAT. Sorry, let me just place it here. Yeah, so the KDAT will be that cost of debt, which you already given, it was here, it's 12.5. But I'll have to multiply this by 1 minus the tax rate. So the tax rate was 25%. So I'll just pick it there. Then I enter. Yeah, so the KDAT, let me just put it to general. Yeah, it will give me 0.09 and this is 0.32. Yeah. So this is the cost of equity and this is the cost of debt. So now I can calculate the WACC easily. So just come here and say WACC equals to, the formula was there. So it's KE, which is this. Yeah, so what I'll do, I'll open the bracket. Then this I'll multiply by the portion of the equity. We are told here in additional information number 3 that the target company currently has shillings 8 million in debt and shillings 3 million in equity. Yeah, so I'll take the 3 million and I'll work with thousands. So I'll take the 3,000. Then I divide by the sum of the two, debt and equity, which I calculated here, which is 11,000. So I'll divide by that. Then I'll close the bracket. Then I'll add to bracket my KDAT, which is this, and I'll multiply by the portion of the debt, which is 8 million. Yeah, I'll use 8,000. Then I'll divide by 11,000, which is debt plus equity. Yeah, then I'll close the bracket. So when I enter, my WACC will be 0.1581. So I'll change this into percentage. Yeah, so just go here and change this into percentage. So my WACC is 15.8. So that's the first step. That's the first thing we're supposed to do, because the WACC was not given directly. So you have to go back to your formula for calculating WACC and calculate the WACC first, because you can't do the discounted cash flows without weighted average cost of capital. Yeah, so without much ado, now the next thing will be I'll have to prepare a forecast for the profit or loss. Yeah, I'll prepare a forecast for the profit or loss count. So this is what I'll do. So I'll say forecast statement, profit or loss. And I'll bold this. Yes, and I'll be guided by additional information number 1. Huh? They're saying Alpha Limited revenues were shillings 12.5 million, full stop. Then this revenue is expected to grow at a constant annual growth rate of 7.5% over the next 5 years. Yeah, so it means this revenue was at the first year. Yeah, so I'll start from 1. Then the next 5 years, now it means that I'll end at year, the 6th year. So I'll just come here and go to home, then you go to fill, they have taught you series, then it's on a row. So I just, my stop value will be 6. Yeah, so that when I enter, it will be up to 6 years. Yeah. So I'll just create a bottom border here. Yeah, that's bottom border. So I'll start with the revenue. Yeah, because you know the format for profit or loss. So I'll start with the revenue. So I'll write revenue. Then for the first year, it was 12.5. And I say I'll use the values in 1,000. So that will be 12,500. So I'll have 12,500. Good. So we are told that there was a growth rate of 7.5% over the next 5 years, from year 2 up to the 6th year. Those are 5 years. So I just come here and say equals to, then I'll pick this. Yeah, and I'll do now the forecasting. 1 plus 7.5. This is the growth rate. So I'll lock this growth rate completely with an F4. Then I enter. Yeah, so once I enter, I'll just drag on through. Yeah, and the values will come automatically. Yeah, so the next item, let me go to additional information. Number 2, Alpha Limited's gross profit margin is 75%. So we know that from revenue, you go to cost of sales is when you get the gross profit margin. But here we are given the gross profit. So I just write gross profit. Yeah, so under gross profit, we'll have the gross profit, but we are told the margin was 75%, meaning that it was margin on revenue, on sales. So you will take the 75%. I think I'll just lock it also completely. Then you multiply by the revenue so that you get the gross profit. Yeah, because the margin was 75% of revenue. Wherever you hear that there's a gross profit margin, then that margin is on revenue. Yeah, so when you enter, you'll have 93.75. So I'll just drag on through. Yeah, and the values will change automatically. Then now I'll come here and fill the cost of sales. Yeah, so the cost of sales here will be the difference between this gross profit and revenue. Yeah, so I'll have negative 31. Yeah, so when you drag, you will get the values automatically. So that when you take 12,500 minus 31.25, you will get 93.75. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how you are supposed to handle that place. So we'll have gross profit and yeah, then I'll go to expenses. Yeah, I'll go now to expenses. As you can see, additional information number 4, they are saying selling, general, administration, and other expenses expected to be 45% of sales. So I'll just put them as expenses. So they were 45% of sales. So I just pick 45%. Then I'll lock it completely. Then I'll multiply by the revenue. Yeah, multiply by the revenue. And because I want a negative value, I just put a negative sign there. So that when I enter, we have negative 56.25. So that when you drag, it will copy all through. Yeah, the values will be copied automatically. Yeah, so the next thing will be earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization. Yeah, because I've seen an aspect of depreciation. Yeah, so after that, now I just come here and say equals to sum this. Yeah, so I'll sum from gross profit to the expenses. Then I'll just drag. Yeah, the values automatically. Yeah, the values comes automatically. So the next thing will be depreciation. Depreciation. Yeah, because we don't have amortization. So this should be earning before interest and tax and depreciation. But it's okay, you can just leave it in that form. So depreciation also, I'll have to get a negative figure. We are told that additional information number 5, the depreciation is expected to be 2.5% of sales. Yeah, so I'll just pick it, the 2.5, then I'll lock it completely. Then I'll multiply by the revenue. So that when I drag from year 1 to year 6, the values will change automatically, as you can see. Yeah, so there we have depreciation. So we'll have earning before interest and tax. So earning before interest and tax. EBIT. Sorry. So we'll have that. Yeah, so this will be the difference between earning before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, and depreciation. So I just sum these two. Yeah, so I'll just sum them and I'll just drag this. So was there interest? The interest, let me see. No, there's not. So there was no interest. So the next item will be tax. Next item will be tax. So under tax rate, we are told it was 25%. So I'll pick it, then I'll lock it completely. Then I'll multiply by this. And I'll put a negative sign so that, yeah, I get a negative value. So that when I drag, the numbers will come there automatically. So this will be earning before interest and tax. Then after tax, now that will be my net income. Yeah, so yeah, just say net income. So my net income will be the sum of these two. I'll sum these two. Yeah, so once I've summed that, just drag on through. So I'll highlight my net income and bold it so that you can see it clearly on your side. Yeah, so that's the forecast statement of profit or loss. Yeah, that's the forecast statement of profit or loss. So for me to prepare the free cash flow to the farm, I had to get the net income first. Yeah, so I'll go now to the main question. And they're saying calculate the present value. So what I'll do using the DCF valuation method, I'll now calculate the what we call the free cash flow to the farm. Yeah, let me just bold it. Let me bold it. Yes, it was for 5 years. This is what will guide us. Changes in working capital. It was for five years. So in this case, now I'll start from the second year. Yeah, so let me assume that now we have the second year. So I just say equals to, then I'll pick this. Yeah, from second year, because that's where we'll have the changes when it comes to the format. Yeah. So I'll bold this. Yeah, so I'll start on under the formula for the free cash flow. So the farm is always earning before interest and tax. Then you remove the tax. So it means that it's net income. The formula is net income plus depreciation and amortization minus capital expenditure minus changes in working capital minus other assets. Yeah, then we'll get the free cash flow. So the formula is net income plus depreciation and amortization minus capital expenditure minus changes in working capital, then minus any other assets which were not mentioned. Yeah, so this is what we will do. So I'll start with the net income. Yeah, so the net income, just come here. So I just copy it, just say net income. And I'll enter and let me just increase this. Yeah. So for the 5 years, you recall that it was supposed to be for the 5 years. So I'll start from second year. So I'll just pick this. Yeah, then I'll add the depreciation. Depreciation was here. Yeah, and the depreciation, I'll change it into positive. So I'll put a negative sign before this. Then I add, so that when I drag, the values will automatically change to positive. Yeah, then the other thing is the capital expenditure. So I just write capital expenditure. Yeah, because these are free cash flow. These are free cash flow. So we subtract the capital expenditure. And we are told that the capital expenditure was, let me go to additional information number 6. Net capital expenditures are expected to be 2.5% of net revenue annually. Yeah, so this is what I'll do. I'll pick the 2.5%. Then I'll lock it. Yeah, I'll lock it because it's constant all through. Then I'll multiply by the revenue. Under the second year, my revenue was this. Yeah. So then I just say enter. So once I enter, because this was supposed to be negative because I'm subtracting it. So let me put it negative. Yeah, so it's negative. So I just drag all through. Yeah, and it will copy all through. So the next thing is the changes in working capital. So I'll also subtract changes in working capital. So I just write changes in W capital. Yeah, let me just say changes in W cap. Yeah, so I'll also look at the values. I'll have to subtract. So I'm told that there was additional information which just says 7. Changes net working capital are expected to amount to 500, 600, 700, 800, and 900,000 in the next 5 years respectively. Yeah, so I'll start with the first year. It's 500,000. Yeah, because these values are in thousands already. Yeah, these values are in thousands. So I'll put 500. Yeah, so the next one also will be equal to negative 600. Enter. Then the next value will be, yeah, this we are just given additional information number 7. The next will be 700. And the next item will be 800 and 900 finally. So we'll have 800, then 900. Yeah. The reason why I'm putting negative is that we subtract the changes in working capital and capital expenditure. Yeah. So after that, we'll have the other assets. So was there any other asset which you are given? Yeah, you have to check the question. No, there was no any other assets. Yeah, there was no additional assets. So with that now, we'll be able to calculate what we call the free cash flow. So I'll say here, FCF, yeah, the free cash flow will be equals to, so I just say equals to sum, just sum this. Yeah, then I just sum all through. Then I enter. Yeah. Enter. Enter. So I just drag. Yeah, so these are the free cash flows to the firm. So I just bold it. Yeah, so after that, under Roman number 1, they say calculate the present value of the target company's free cash flow. So these are the present values. Yeah, the free cash flows are the present values. So the other thing I'll calculate is the terminal value. So I just come here and say terminal value. Sorry. Terminal value. Yeah, so under terminal value, it's terminal at the end of year 6. So there's additional information number 9, when we are told after the 6th year, free cash flows are expected to grow at the rate of 3% per year indefinitely. Yeah. So this is what we are going to do. We'll take this, the final free cash flow, then we multiply by the growth rate. So this is what I'll do. I just create a bracket here. Then I'll multiply this. Sorry. Just equals to, then this. I'll multiply by the growth rate. Yeah, and you know, when you multiply by any growth rate, you say 1 plus the growth rate. So the growth rate we are told was 3%. So I'll pick the 3%. And then I put a bracket. Then I'll divide this by the WACC, the working capital. Divide that by the WACC. So I'll divide this. Then I'll subtract the growth rate. Again, that's how you calculate the terminal value. I'll subtract the growth rate, which was 3%. Yeah, which is this. So I'll subtract that and I enter. So once I enter, let me remove the percentage. Yeah, so I'll have this as the terminal value. So my terminal value was 18 to 59. Let me highlight it. Yeah, my terminal value was 18,259.85173. Yeah, so by that I've answered terminal value. And now the other part will be the total enterprise value. Yeah, so after that we now have the total free cash flow. So just say total FCF. Yeah, the total free cash flow will be this under year one. Then you just drag all the way up to here. But now for the 6th year, you will add the terminal value to the free cash flow. So you take this and you add to this. Yeah, so that we have the total free cash flow. So I'll just bold it. Yeah, so after bolding this, now I'll find the enterprise value. So the enterprise. Yeah, I'll do the enterprise, the total enterprise value. Yeah, so the enterprise value is the NPV. We'll calculate the NPV. That's the enterprise value. This value. And just allow me to bold it. So just say equals to NPV. Then the rate will be WACC, which you calculated here. And then I'll drag all this. Let's say enter. So my enterprise value will be, it's giving me values in Kenya shillings. Let me just remove it, the currency, and put to general. Yeah, my enterprise value is 16,931. Yeah, my enterprise value is 16,931. Yeah, and by that I've answered part A of the question. They said using the DCF valuation method, calculate the present value of the target company's free cash flow. Yeah, the values are this. Yeah, then terminal value, the terminal value is here, and the enterprise value is here. So let me just bold the enterprise value. Yeah, so that's how you are supposed to tackle part A of that question. First thing you have to know the formula for the free cash flows to the firm, which I said is net income plus depreciation and amortization minus capital expenditure minus changes in working capital and minus any other asset. Yeah, provided that the asset is in this question. So I'll continue to part B. Determine the value of the equity and the price per share for the target company. Determine the value of the equity and the price per share for the target company. Yeah. So the value of the equity. So this is what we will do. We were told that the ordinary shares were 500,000. Yeah. The number of outstanding ordinary shares was 500,000. But now we will calculate what we call the intrinsic value. The intrinsic value. To get the value of share. Yeah, the price per share for the target company. So what to get the price per share? So that's what we call the intrinsic value. So I'll take the enterprise value and I'll divide by the number of shares. So the ordinary shares here were 500,000 and I was working with these values in thousands. So I'll divide that by 500. Yeah, and I'll have the intrinsic value of 33.8623. Yeah, so this is the value per share. That's the price per share for the target company. Now the value of the equity will be so the actual value will be 33.86. So you multiply this by the number of shares. So shares are the equity, so that you get that value, which will take us back to the enterprise value. So that's how you are supposed to tackle this question, and you have your 30. You have 30 marks. 30 marks. So thank you and welcome back again. Bye.